Hi everyone, and thank you for joining me today for some virtual vitamin Z as we bring the Detroit Zoo to you. My name is Claire and I'm a curator of education with the Detroit Zoological Society, where we are celebrating and saving wildlife. Today I have an extra special challenge for all of you. But first I need to take you to the Amazon rainforest and tell you about something that's happening down in the rainforest that we need your help designing a solution for. So let's get started with some of the words that we're going to cover today. We're going to talk about the rainforest. We're going to talk about ecosystems and what it means to flood. All right, so if you're a regular Facebook fan, you may have joined us last week on Earth Day when I talked about one of my favorite places on Earth, the Amazon rainforest. The Amazon rainforest is beautiful and incredibly biodiverse, meaning tons and tons of different plants and animal species. And the Detroit Zoological Society has been working down there for more than 2 decades. We partnered with a group called Conepack, which is a nonprofit supporting people who live in the communities on the rural Amazon and Napo rivers, and Explorama Lodges, which is a travel company that people from all over the world come down to visit the rainforest. And together, we're supporting the next generation of rainforest stewards as we provide them the opportunity to achieve a basic education by ensuring they have the school supplies needed so they can continue protecting the rainforest. Now, the Detroit Zoological Society has also been working down in the rainforest for more than 10 years on amphibian studies. So we go out and we see what different species of frogs and toads live there and how many there are. And that can tell us how healthy an ecosystem is. So we know a lot about the rainforest ecosystem. And it depends on this relationship between the rainforest and the Amazon River. Now, the Amazon River is beautiful, but it's mighty. It's the largest in the world as far as volume goes. So that means how much water is actually in it. And many times it looks very peaceful and tranquil, but the reality is it's moving a lot of water really, really fast. Now, the people who live in the Amazon rainforest has adapted to this way of life, as have the animals. So they build their houses up on stilts, so when the floodwaters come, they come underneath the house and they can still live there. And this time of year, in February, March, April, and May, is when the flooding starts. And I'll show you kind of how that happens. But I need my globe first. We're going to start up here in Detroit, and we're going to go down across the equator, and the Amazon rainforest is the top part of South America. So every year around this time, the ocean currents change a little bit. So you start getting cool air coming from the Pacific Ocean and warm air coming from the Atlantic Ocean, and they meet over the top of South America, and it starts raining a lot. And researchers have been tracking this rain for over 100 years. And it used to flood out about every 20 years. Now it's starting to flood every 4 to 5 years. So while animals and plants and people have adapted to those every 20 years, now that it's happening more often, it's a little bit more problematic. So you can see here, this is a high flood year, and you can see all the water going underneath the houses because they're built up, but the school that's here, that's been flooded out because that was built on the ground. Now, instead of walking back and forth to each other's houses, now they're going to need to take boats, and that's what this looks like. This is another community that was flooded out, and all of these kids and their families are actually coming over to get their school supplies for the year from the Adopt a School program. And in a case like this, sometimes the teachers will actually hold classes in their homes, the ones that are built up on stilts, so they can continue educating the students even though the school's not accessible anymore. And I reached out to our friends at Explorama Lodges, who sent me some more pictures so you can see side by side how much these floodwaters can actually change the environment. So this is Explorama Lodge, and this is their dining hall, and this is the walkway to it. This is that same walkway, but now instead of being open in like a garden, it's part of the river, and you can actually pull these canoes right up and tie them to the railings that are right here. It's a big difference. And I have one more. This is Explore Napo Lodge, and you can see here this picture was taken in October or November, and this one was taken, I think, in April. And the water here is receded out. There's a big field right here that the staff at Explorama play football or soccer in the evenings, whereas here it's completely flooded out, and the boats are actually pulled up right to the walkway. Now, when the river starts to change like that, most of the time there's enough time to move away and be safe. But when the water comes down really quickly, sometimes it can cut off sections of land from the mainland. So all of a sudden, somewhere you used to be able to walk across and get back to the mainland, there's a river there. And now you might be stuck on this high piece of ground. So that could be animals and or people stuck there. And to show you how dynamic this river system is, I have an aerial view that looks down from the top. So here's the Amazon and Napo rivers. So here's the mighty Amazon coming down this way, and here's the Napo River, which is a tributary, meaning it contributes water to that large river. And you can see how curvy and windy it is, and how these little islands start to pop up in the rivers. So that's where you come in today. So this is our first wildlife rescue design challenge. And I need you all to put on your engineering hats to help us come up with some design solutions on something that we could use to help get people and animals off of those islands when they form really quickly in a flood and get them back to the mainland. So here's the different steps on how this is going to work. Step 1, you need to decide what materials you're going to use. So to do this, you need to think about what floats and what sinks. So material that floats, when you drop it in a bucket of water, it'll stay near the top, up on the surface. If it sinks, it'll go right down to the bottom. So we need whatever structure this is to float. So start by making a chart of materials, anything that you can find around the house that float or sink. And then you'll have a good idea of what materials you want to use to build your design and model. Now, engineers don't start by making exactly what they want. They start by trying things out, making models out of any materials they might have around to get a design, and then they start to use it in the real life solution. So we want you to make a model raft or some other floating structure out of any materials that you have around the house so you can get a design. And this design will be shared with a team of wildlife rescuers down in the Amazon rainforest, so the next time they have a flood, they can build the same structure and help get those people and animals off those islands. Now, it has to float for at least 30 seconds to make sure that your design is going to work in the Amazon rainforest. So that's step 2. Step 3 is an extra challenge. If you make a raft that can float for more than 30 seconds, I want to challenge you to see how many animals you could transfer off of that island and back to the mainland. So to do that, we're going to use model animals, just like we're using model supplies to make our design. So for every tapir, you're going to put a quarter onto your raft. Now, tapirs are really important to the rainforest ecosystem. They live down on the rainforest floor, and they eat a lot of fruits and a lot of plants. And then they digest them, which means it goes through their whole body, and it comes out, the seeds do, with their poop, so with a little bit of built-in fertilizer. And tapirs can carry these seeds to other places that the host plant might not be able to get their seeds. So think of like an oak tree that drops acorns. It counts on the squirrels to carry them around, otherwise there'd be a whole bunch of oak trees growing right underneath the mom oak tree. So for every tapir that you want to take off the island, put a quarter on your raft and see how many tapirs your raft can hold. Now, for monkeys, each monkey is going to equal a penny. So you can see how many different monkeys you can get off the island. Monkeys are also really important to the rainforest. Where tapirs live down on the ground level, monkeys live up in the canopy level, which means the very top of the rainforest. So monkeys run around and play up in the top of the trees, eating lots of fruits and seeds, and again, pooping them out and dispersing them all over the rainforest. So they're really important to keeping that ecosystem intact. So for every monkey you want to rescue off the island, you're going to put a penny on your raft. And last but certainly not least, frogs. For every 10 frogs you want to get off the island, you're going to put a dime on your raft. Frogs and amphibians are really important to every ecosystem. They're important for insect control, so they eat a lot of insects, especially insects that could potentially carry diseases and or are just bothersome to animals and people. So for every 10 amphibians, you're going to put a dime on your raft. Now, when you come up with designs and solutions, they can only come into play if you share them out. So what I'm going to ask you to do is email me a short video or a picture of your design to education@dzs.org. And then I would love to share out all the solutions that you come up with on Thursday morning at 11 live on Facebook. And I already had a couple colleagues who started working on these, so don't feel like this is just a challenge for families or kids. If you're working remotely from home and you want a break, design a raft and send me what you come up with. I'd love to see it. Make sure you include in your email some successes and some challenges you had, because engineers often have a lot more failures than they do successes, and they learn a lot more from those failures than they do that success, and they keep coming back and being persistent to try to find a solution. All right, so I tasked you with a big responsibility. I want you to come up with a model and design a model to help save animals off of islands in the Amazon rainforest during the flood and getting them back to the mainland so they can return to the rainforest. If you have any questions about the challenge, feel free to type them into the comment box below, or you can send me an email at education@dzs.org. And if you'd like me to share out your design solution, make sure you send it to me before Wednesday evening so I can share it out on Thursday at 11. Now, if you're finding yourself needing a little bit more virtual vitamin Z today, my colleagues Sandy and Zara will be on this afternoon at 2 and 4, sharing some more of the Detroit Zoo and all the unique things that we do out with you. Until then, I cannot wait to see what you come up with. Thank you for joining me this morning. Stay safe, put your engineering thinking caps on, and take care of each other.